Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures and another episode of Books. There has already been just a flip through of this altered hardback book, but today I'm going to spend a bit longer looking at what's on each page and some of the products and even maybe some of the processes involved in doing it. Not in huge detail. I'll try to pop various products down in the description below, but it's not going to be comprehensive. There's a lot of stuff going on here, as you'll see. Starting with the cover, which is covered with some of Tim Holtz's Ideology Tissue Wrap, which is a product that's now been replaced by the Collage Papers. It used to come in black and white, so that's been painted mostly with fresco paints in lots of my favourite colours, and just across the whole book, tissue paper with those lovely vintage Tim Holtz designs. These are his quote chips over the top. I've peeled off a bit so that they're not so sticky up. It's very easy to just peel the cardboard back. And then this rusty texture around the edges is just done with grit paste, texture paste, a bit of grit paste put on, and then various gorgeous paints of different kinds put over the top of it. I will at some point, there may already have been rusty textures exploration into a few things, but I think I'm also going to think about doing some actual classes for that, so watch out for that. If you're not signed up for my mailing list, you can do that at alisonbomber.com, and you'll be the first, amongst the first, to hear about any workshops that are going on. So that's just the cover. Let's get inside. This is the inside front cover. This isn't actually the first spread I did in this book. This was the first spread on the first pages. And as I've mentioned when you've seen me working in this book, I tend to glue 2 or 3 pages together to give me a stiffer thing to work on, because as just a hardback book, it's got fairly thin pages. So this is some collaging over a bit of crackle texture. Beautiful stamp there from Tim Holtz, with roots on one of his portraits, dolls, lots of his ideology ephemera, and a quote from my very first paper artsy quote collection, EAB 01, which was trees and flowers. So that was a set of quotations all about trees and flowers. For a tree to become tall, it must grow tough roots among the rocks. And I do think she looks as though she's growing some tough roots to take herself through this world. Yeah, so lots of Tim Holtz stuff, crackle, texture, stamping, and some paper artsy words. So that's that spread. Over here, there's torn apart cheesecloth muslin type stuff, just really ripped apart to shreds with some texture paste going on. I believe I used some soft pastels on here, unison soft pastels, to create some of this colour. This is a Tim Holtz die cut, the arched window. I had used the frame for something else, so the innards were lying around. They've been covered with some texture paste, a bit of a stony finish. And these are, of course, Tim Holtz, the mini entomology stamps. I can't quite remember the name. I'll try to put it in the description below. A bit of washi tape, and again, those quote chips, a little ideology paperclip going on there, but I think that's probably to do with the next page. So yeah, that was leftovers on the desk, really. I'd used these somewhere else. I'd used that somewhere else. Let's stick it in a journal. Yeah, here's that paper clip holding down one of my inky tags. That's a Distress Ink and Oxide tag that I've, as you can see, cut up and used as the base for my collaging. Again, these inky splotch tags, it's the Tim Holtz wrinkle-free distress technique, which you can find him demoing all over YouTube. I get so many questions about this, but I promise you that's all I'm doing is his wrinkle-free distress technique. But because there are so many questions, again, that's going to become a class. So I'll say it one more time and then I'll stop it. Sign up for my mailing list at alisonbomber.com. It's at the foot of every page on that website there, Words and Pictures. And yeah, again, there'll be a link down in the description. Beautiful brick texture in the background there, the crackle. And yeah, Tim Holtz butterflies. He's changed that skew as well to some more colourful ones, but these were the original acetate butterflies, and yeah, they catch the light. So this page again, there's some, I don't know, grit paste, I think maybe, through these bricks stencil here, and lots of those acetate flower stickers that you can pick up all over the place online. That's one of the Tim Holtz window frames and doors, windows and doors, I think maybe the ephemera pack is called, but again I've peeled away some of the background to make it less sticky uppy. This is another of my paper artsy quotes. Spring has returned. The earth is like a child that knows poems. That's Rilke. I kept the author down there. All my quote stamps have the author attached. You can either choose to have it or not have it, but I really feel that where you're using poetry and philosophy and history and literature, you should really be crediting the author. So that's Rainer Maria Rilke, who is an extraordinary poet. Yeah, so that's a cottage wall, I guess, with flowers growing up it. That's from the spring edition, that quote. I can't remember the number. It'll be in the description. So here's one that I really rather like. Big surprise. Grey, blue, brown, and I'm a happy woman. Again, some more Tim Holtz stamps in the background. This is possibly my most used die of all. It comes in the garden greenery, I think, the ivy. I absolutely love it. I love ivy in the actual garden as well. Another of the Tim Holtz portraits, and lots of those ephemera pieces from various packs. I'm not going to try and list because they're all from different years. I grab them when I can, and when I can afford them, and when I can find them on offer, and when I just can't resist having them. More crackle going on. So yeah, the texture, and yeah, you'll spot the mini labels, the little snippets, curator labels are everywhere. So here is again a tag background I made, didn't really know what to do with, and in the end it ended up here. It's the Tim Holtz Blossom stencil done with crackle and who knows, looks like Distress Oxide sprays over it, and then Distress Crayon to highlight that texture, I would guess. Paper dolls, they're the other thing that turn up again and again. And then because I had this tag, I thought I'm going to echo this across the rest of the page. So the same stencil, again with some very fine crackle paste. If you put it on thinly, you get smaller cracks. And some more of those quote chips, again with some of the cardboard peeled away so that they're not quite so full on. Be brave. Keep room in your heart for the unimaginable. Own your dreams. These clips on the side, some of them are Tim Holtz ones. I think there's certainly Tim Holtz metalwork in here. Some of them are some I just picked up bulk for cheap in various places, and they're really useful. These pages are glued, but not always efficiently right at the edges. So it's a good way to additionally hold the pages together. Here's another one I like, more blues and browns and greys, and lots of butterflies. What I very often do with these big acetate ones is cut them in half. They tend to go on 2 tags, but here they're on opposite sides of the journaling page. And again, I love the light catching properties of acetate. I enjoy that a lot. So yes, he's clearly an antiques dealer who will travel the world over to find the beautiful. And no journey is too great if you find what you seek. And he's always after vintage books, papers, documents. And yeah, he has clearly a botanist's or naturalist's streak in him. Yeah, you see, you say the word naturalist that close to the word streak, you're going to come up with naturists, who are the ones who wear their clothes, or no, don't wear their clothes. Naturalist studies nature. They're too close together, those two words. He's not a naturist, probably. Who knows? These Victorian gentlemen, you know. But he is a naturalist. And that's his page. This page was, I think, actually created for the Paper Artsy blog, and it's using my Acorn edition. So this was amongst the first of the stamp sets that included my botanical sketches. And so yeah, I now don't have to go through the heart in mouth thing of actually drawing. I can just stamp and then paint and colour to my heart's content. So yeah, that's some of the ephemera you get on the stamp set. Plus you get these beautiful Culpeper's Herbal was a medicine book from 1653, which tells you all the properties of whatever leaf, flower, berry or fruit you're looking at, and tells you how you can cure various ills. I'm not, by the way, recommending you follow any of the prescriptions or recipes. Don't hold me accountable if you do. So yeah, that's Tim Holtz photo booth photos. They constantly tell me stories, and they're in with lots of stamps from my Acorn edition. That's the quote as well. The creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn. Fabulous, fabulous quote. That is on the Acorn edition. So very simple in the background, you can see. That's just gesso over the page and a little bit of subtle splatter. You really don't need more when you're working in a book like this. Haha. You can see we're heading into autumn now. There's a whole spate of autumn ones where I clearly had the bit between my teeth a couple of autumns ago. Here's another tag that was made as part of a whole bunch that I did with texture paste and distress spray stains and mica stains, mica sprays. You can see, I hope, the shimmer of that spatter in there. There is a video, a few minutes of fun already, showing how you can mix and match your sprays to get beautiful patina effects. That was kind of a mix between the American patina and the English patina. I'm trying to go between the two. So this is a quote from Gardens and Growth. If you have a garden and a library, you have everything you need. I would argue some craft supplies really ought to be in there as well, but I'll go with the garden and the library. That's all good, but I want some craft supplies as well. Lots of Tim Holtz ephemera here, as you can see, tiny labels, snippets labels, and the glorious fungi. I wish they would bring out a whole pack of just mushrooms. I use them a lot, particularly in autumn, as you can see. But he's another, clearly, specimen collector, naturalist, botanist, studier of the wonders of nature, and he is a natural history and scientific bookseller. So he's books to perfection. So many of my favourite things. Yeah, a little bit of rusted cheesecloth, adding texture down the sides. What else? Yeah, that looks like about it for that page. That's a favourite. Full on colour. Doesn't happen very often around here, except in autumn. And in autumn, no holds barred. But autumn is also the season of mists and fruitful melancholy, of course. And so there's the acorns in action again, but this time over a much subtler, I don't know if you can see the stamped cobweb in the background there, tracing across the misty morning. She's another apothecary. All these hard-working Victorians who study and get themselves places. Another tag, this time cut vertically. And that can't, oh no, that is the other side of there. And I seem to have lost a quarter of it. I wonder where that's gone. Interesting. She's an apothecary. These wooden word straps that bob up in here are from Calico Craft Parts, for whom I was a designer for quite a long time. And I've still got, happily, lots of their beautiful MDF cuttings. They're really lovely to work with. That's it in its naked state, but you can paint them and crackle them and all sorts to your heart's delight. More snippets labels, obviously another Tim Holtz portrait. Will that do for that page? Autumn again, or still, shall we say. Another pair of industrious types collecting, this time very much it's about the fungi. There's another of those ink splotch tags doing duty as the base of the collaging. What seems ordinary is often the extraordinary, and I mean, it couldn't be truer of mushrooms. They freak me out a little bit, to be honest, how alien they are as a life form. They're neither flora nor fauna. They are their own whole group, and the ways they behave and the things we're discovering about what they do for our forests and communication and all of these sorts of things. So yeah, I'm fully behind these two chaps, setting off from their Times Square apartments and heading off around the world to find extraordinary fungi. So that's them. Again, Tim Holtz metalwork just on the corners. This one just makes me happy. I almost don't want to say more than that. These hydrangea petals came from the garden, dried. I have given them a coating of matte medium, or it may even have been, they look as if they've got a slightly shiny finish, so it may have been a satin, not sure. Another of my ink splotch tags in the background. and the Weed Love rubber dance stamp going on in the background, one of my most used stamps. Again, some sort of fibres just making their way around. This is one of the large Photomatique photo booth photos, so they from slightly later one, and they come in a slightly larger size. I adore these two, and I adore just the tumble of hydrangea petals across that page, and the colours make me very happy as well. That's very much end of autumn, I would say. And these two perched on a bench. It always seems to me either they've been on a long shopping trip or they're sitting waiting for one of the very early metro trains in New York. I think they're dressed up to the nines, ready for a day out. A little bit of crackle through the Harlequin stencil in the background. That's again a Tim Holtz one. Some rusted papers, rusted book pages, lots of layered stamping. That's probably either from the Tim Holtz mail. There's one with lots of postage stamps and things, or it could be from, what's it called? Field Notes. Field Notes has a lot of that sort of thing going on in it. So yes, labels, crackle, collage. And then yes, we're up to the one that may or may not have been, you've certainly seen it, the background being done, but I've yet to complete the next page in the book. And then I've got just a little way more I can go. So I hope that's given you some insight into some of the things going on in that whole book, altered hardback book. As I say, I can't be comprehensive. There's so much, and it's me just playing. So I'm not taking notes. I'm not keeping a note of every single stamp set I've used or every single piece of paper. I'm looking at it. I'm trying to remember things and trying to let you know what's going on. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If so, please do hit the thumbs up button, leave me a comment in the areas below. As I say, I'll try to put things into the description as far as I can with information about things used here. But as I say, lots of it has probably been discontinued because my hoard goes back over a decade now, and I pull things from all those years. Thanks so much for stopping by. I hope you're inspired to play in some books or with some book pages, or just get your crafting supplies out and do something with them. Thanks so much for stopping by, and I'll see you again soon. Happy crafting all.